Imagine this. You find, trust, book in and pay for a vendor for your wedding, mainly because they've won every wedding award out there, only to find out later, when it's too late, that they actually paid for those awards or aren't as experienced or talented as you presumed, or, and this is surely the worst, they can't even deliver what you actually need. Could this ever happen? I'm no historian, but I think I can safely say that the idea of someone or something being the best, in inverted commas, has dictated PR wars since the beginning of time. Whether you're in the movies and striving to be awarded an Oscar, in the real estate space and want to secure the gong this year for your branch, or jogging in a local fucking fun run, as humans, we can get fairly preoccupied with comparisons and competition. So today I'm going to teach you about some of the biggest wedding industry awards and their processes. You'll find out about their advantages and their shortcomings, plus how bias, undeclared interest and pay-to-play tactics might affect how you feel about vendors who participate in these awards. Plus, at the end, I'm going to share how best to view wedding industry awards when you're going about researching and putting together a shortlist of your vendor dream team to make sure that you're not left disappointed or taken advantage of. I want to give you a balanced and insightful look into the value for you and the general impact of wedding industry awards. Do they really help engaged couples make informed decisions, or do they just act as thinly veiled, pun intended, marketing smoke and mirrors just to get your business? Spoiler alert, I think you're going to be surprised when I tell you the truth. Let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. You might have noticed some wedding vendors have sparkly badges, flashy titles or claims to fame on their website, like World's #1 Wedding Singer or Greatest Photographer That Ever Lived. Wedding industry accolades and awards, just like most around the world, are plentiful, but each one has their own terms and can be a bit confusing, and at worst hold questionable authority and a lack of integrity, which is why I think it's important to talk about them and why they matter to you as an engaged couple and for wedding vendors as well. We're going to examine these advantages and shortcomings of the well-known awards, such as the WeddingWire or the Knot. The Knot actually own WeddingWire, so they are different awards, but as I'll explain in a minute, the terms of their awards are the same. There's Easy Weddings, which is the big one here in Australia, Wedding Industry Awards, and ABIA. Over the past few years, there's definitely been a rise in the number of wedding awards and the use of them as a marketing tool for vendors. And the idea is that it's a trust signal for engaged couples. So perhaps if I tell you a little bit about what these awards are trying to do and how they go about awarding these accolades. So for the WeddingWire Couples Choice Awards and the Knot Best of Weddings, as I said, because the Knot owns WeddingWire, I'm guessing they keep their criteria for both awards the same to make it simpler internally. But the basic criteria is that WeddingWire and the Knot recognise wedding professionals for excellence in quality, service, responsiveness, and professionalism, that winners are determined solely by the reviews of couples of WeddingWire and the Knot couples. So the vendors need to collect a minimum of 7 reviews between the 1st of January and the 31st of December of a given year to win the award for the next year. And those reviews must also maintain an average rating of 4.5 stars out of 5. And a note that they've got on their website is that the review criteria was raised from a minimum of 5 reviews to now a minimum of 7 to make sure that the award remains exclusive and reflects what matters to couples. So those who are doing, a minimum of 7 weddings a year are those that are able to enter this. According to WeddingWire and The Knot, the benefits of winning the award is that it builds trust and credibility, because the award is based entirely on client reviews and it showcases past couples' positive experiences. If you win an award, you get exclusive promotional assets, so a little badge, which is, fancy for a graphic that you can show on your website. You can do posts on social media, things like that, and you can say it, I won this, that, or the other. Sometimes it's a certificate, so you could put it in a frame, throw it in your office, whatever the case may be, and also press release templates. So the idea is it enhances a wedding vendor's visibility and helps to differentiate them from other competitors. WeddingWire and The Knot also assert that they don't have a pay-to-win system, whether it be front of house or back of house. So being a paid advertiser on WeddingWire or The Knot doesn't influence the chances of a wedding vendor getting the award. But what they don't specify here is whether or not being a paid member of WeddingWire or The Knot allows you to display your award. Because what I've found in the past, personally, with my celebrant hat on, is that unless you're a member, you don't have the right to display on your website or show it on social media that you've actually won it. So that's interesting that they've specified that. WeddingWire and The Knot say that winning vendors are notified at the start of the year. So if they entered between the 1st of January, 31st of December of this year, 2024, they would be notified in January of 2025, and that the award badges would automatically appear on the vendor's storefront with the WeddingWire, with The Knot. So how else do you get those badges? I want to know, but that's interesting. And vendors are encouraged to share their win on social media with exclusive badges, more gifts, tagging a social media account for additional visibility. Next up are the Easy Weddings Awards. So they are an annual 5-star awards which recognises exceptional Australian wedding suppliers. And in this year, 2024, Easy Weddings honoured 726 suppliers, so specific, based on the reviews they received. Again, very similar to WeddingWire and The Knot. And they looked at the reviews from the financial year of 2023-24. Of the recipients of the 5-star awards this year, 309 of the suppliers received 5 or more reviews over the past year. So with WeddingWire and The Knot, they had a minimum of 7. And 417 newcomers received at least 1 5-star review within the first 12 months of them being listed. So again, it is a little sweetener for new advertisers of the Easy Wedding platform. So the only way you can get an award with Easy Weddings is to be an Easy Weddings advertiser as a vendor. The criteria for winning, very similar, maintaining an overall rating of 4.5 stars or above out of 5 and delivering outstanding service. And Easy Weddings believe that this accolade not only highlights the winner's dedication to excellence, but also distinguishes them as trusted and exceptional providers in the wedding industry. Okay. Then we've got Wedding Industry Awards. These were formerly called Bride's Choice Awards, but they since got with the program and have called it Wedding Industry Awards. And since 2008, they are the largest provider of regional wedding business awards in Australia, recognising businesses over 30 wedding regions. So they're really looking at the granular level of the wedding industry here in Australia. On their website, they say businesses can invest in personalised marketing and development collateral after winning, so pay for. And unlike some other awards, they say, the focus is on supporting and promoting the awarded businesses. This is when things get a little interesting because the voting criteria involves paid social media outreach to newlyweds who have been married in the past 12 to 18 months. So each year as the awards are given out, the criteria for actually winning the award can go back 12 or even 18 months. And they use they don't actually say exactly what strategies they use, but they use 5 principal strategies to gather votes with an emphasis on seamless background voting without requiring businesses to solicit votes or reviews. So that's very, very different to WeddingWire, The Knot, and Easy Weddings. And each region has dedicated Facebook posts and promotional activities, they say, to drive engagement. Wedding Industry Awards believe the unique aspect of winning from them is that a vendor will gain support from a national brand, which reinforces their brand visibility and credibility in the industry as a whole. With the ABIA Awards, ABIA, they're a little bit different, and I really should be transparent. I have been a member of Easy Weddings and of ABIA for a really long time, over 10 years for each, I want to say. And I can talk about that a bit more towards the end. But for the ABIA Awards, the way that they're determined is that winners and finalists are selected based on ratings and reviews from over 30,000 newlyweds each year. And wedding vendors are rated across 4 key areas for what they provide to engaged couples, which are product quality, service quality, staff attitude, and overall value. The nomination requirements are a little bit different to WeddingWire and The Knot in that vendors must receive a minimum number of nominations to be eligible, with the exact number of nominations to be eligible varying based on the average nominations for that category in that year. They outlined the prestigious titles, so National Designer of Dreams Awards, which recognises vendors with a satisfaction rating of over 98% for 4 consecutive years, and the ABIA Hall of Fame, the highest honour for consistent excellence. ABIA believe that they're known for integrity, equality and inclusivity, and have been a trustworthy promoter of vendors since 1996 with a mission to raise standards in the Australian wedding marketplace. And so knowing all the different criteria there for how a wedding vendor can get hold of these awards, what are the advantages for you as a couple? Like, what does it mean for you? And so I think number 1 is trust and credibility. So awards are meant to signal reliability and excellence in service, and it should make your selection process easier, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed by the number of vendors that you're finding. Because if you're searching through TikTok, Instagram, websites, different wedding directories, it's super common to have them all start to look and sound the same. So when you do see a vendor who's gone above and beyond, who's gone a little bit further to acquire these awards, it's reasonable to expect that they would be a cut above. It could help you to narrow down the field with so many to choose from. It can give couples a vetted starting point as well. There's the social proof. So knowing that other couples before you had excellent experiences with a particular vendor, it can reassure you that you're in very good and experienced hands. And for vendors, hopefully what you're getting out of it is your marketing value. So being an award-winning vendor can mean that your reputation is highlighted, is elevated. You'd want to think that you're attracting more clients, and it allows you to charge what you need to live, to thrive in your business. There's the social proof. Who doesn't like to say, hey, look, everyone, I did super good and I'm well worth my fee. Come and book me. It makes sense. There are also networking opportunities. So, as a matter of fact, just last night, the ABIA team came to South Australia, and at EOS in Adelaide, they had their big, very glitzy, very glam awards. And so when you attend these awards, yes, it costs money to get in the door. Yes, they feed you a certain amount, they entertain you, people get awards, everyone claps. But there's the networking opportunities that come with attending these. It can open new doors for businesses and provide opportunities for collaborations and so many other ventures that you wouldn't get from all being in the same room at the same time. And for a wedding vendor, there's also the feedback loop, because when you receive the reviews or feedback to qualify for these awards, it can really help a wedding vendor go, oh, maybe I didn't do so well in that aspect. Maybe I did really well in this one. And you can fine tune your services, and it makes you a better business owner. I think it makes you a better wedding vendor. There's the opportunity for constant improvement. So it all sounds just great, doesn't it? It sounds really good. It sounds like you just got to look out for vendors who have a lot of awards, who plaster them everywhere, who talk about them a lot, and you'll be fine. But in the real world, in reality, there are quite a few shortcomings of wedding industry awards. And so, as an engaged couple, one of the biggest, I think, downsides and disappointments is the realization that some of these awards, some of the people who win them, there is bias, and it can be a real popularity contest. Awards can sometimes favor larger or more established vendors who have a bigger client base, which can make it harder for smaller or newer wedding vendors to even compete. The number of weddings you get, the number of nominations you get, the number of reviews you get can tip the scales in your favor. There's the problem of the criteria not always being transparent. So some awards are based on votes, not necessarily the quality of service, and couples might not be aware of how the judging criteria are weighted. They just go, oh, they won, they're number one, must mean they're good. No, not necessarily. It might mean they've got a lot of friends. It might mean they got a lot of votes in another way. And to attribute any value to an award, you really got to know what that award's for and how they won. There's also the pressure on couples. So certain award platforms like WeddingWire, The Knot, Easy Weddings and ABIA request the couples to leave reviews as part of the nomination process, which might feel like an obligation for you as a couple. Is it something that you really feel like you have to do? I mean, you paid your vendor, right? If you wanted to leave a review, then absolutely you should. It's a wonderful way of giving back and of letting them know how much you appreciated their efforts. But if you're feeling obligated to do it, it kind of takes away the shine. For wedding vendors themselves, there is also the cost to enter these awards. So some awards have entry fees, or they have expensive awards, like you have to pay to get the award, whether it's a trophy, a plaque, a certificate, a little medal, whatever the fuck it is. There's the presentation nights. So last night for the ABIAs, I believe the tickets were over $200 per person, which can be written off, of course, for some people. Or this is not financial advice, this is not tax advice, but it is a work-related expense. As I mentioned, great opportunity to network, but if you're a bit tight on cash, that could be hard. There are also membership or advertising fees, and sometimes the requirement of the time that a vendor needs to spend encouraging couples to submit reviews. Please review my services. It would really mean a lot. It can be a burden on small businesses. And because there is this emphasis on reviews, and some awards use reviews as a way to judge who is most worthy of being a recipient of an award, it adds extra weight to the number of reviews, which might overlook truly exceptional services provided by vendors with a smaller number of couples on their books. There's awards fatigue, very real. With so many awards popping up, it can dilute the meaning and the prestige of being an award-winning vendor. And then there's the classic pressure to perform. Now, if you don't want to offer great service, then maybe you shouldn't be a wedding vendor. And equally, if you feel pressured to meet award criteria, you're not only bending over backwards, you're not only going above and beyond, but maybe you're going past your business boundaries to try and get that 5-star review, which is going to help you get the award. It means your entire focus has been shifted away from offering genuine and personalised service. We're there to serve couples, guys. And if what we're doing is striving to get an award, it kind of takes away from the focus being on the couple getting married and their needs. The focus is shifted to a vendor's needs. The other tricky things with awards, and to help you understand that wedding industry awards are not immune to potential bias, it's also important to highlight how awards in other industries are also often influenced by these factors. So, as I said at the start, think about the Oscars, the Academy Awards. In the lead up to the Academy Awards, there is massive scale, I'm not sure if you're aware, but massive scale lobbying and campaigning, because the Oscars are infamous for the extensive lobbying efforts that studios put time and money and sucking up into to put forward their actors and films to get nominated. Studios often spend millions of dollars on For Your Consideration campaigns. They host exclusive events. They're hosting dinners. They're sending promotional materials to members of the Academy to get their attention. And this can mean that studios with more money and bigger budget films gain an advantage over smaller independent projects. No one really loves the way it works, but that's the way it works. So there's also sometimes bias and favoritism. There have been long-standing accusations that the voters for the Academy Awards can be swayed by factors like the star power of the nominees or studio relationships rather than the merits of the film itself, which leaves burgeoning studios' smaller films at a disadvantage. Do you know what one of the biggest regrets of newly married couples is? They'll say, I wish I had more memories from my wedding day. It was my favourite day. And one of the smartest ways I've seen couples do this is by making sure that they arrange a quick, foolproof and really simple way to collect and share their guests' wedding photos. Because if you think about it, with an average wedding of, say, 100 guests, with every one of them taking 5 photos or videos, they'll take much more, of course, but I'm talking about the good ones. That's an opportunity for you to collect and download 500 extra photos and videos of their perspective on your wedding day. The stuff that happened that you didn't even get to see. But your barriers are overly complicated instructions or processes. Let's face it, if it takes too long, forces your guest into registering, if you've got to use a certain social media platform, or it's just a pain in the ass, and I'm looking at you, Dropbox and Google Drive, your family and friends just won't do it. And the tech fear and privacy concerns too, because no one wants to download yet another app that has a data breach. Never Miss Moments is an essential resource for busy soon-to-be-weds just like you. Your unlimited photo and video gallery is held in a secure server for 12 months, and for your guests, it's a one-click QR code solution. There's no app to download, no need to register, and it's quick. Win-win. Your guests will be able to look back on and reminisce about your wedding, and your fam and friends' different perspectives of your wedding day is such an incredible lifelong gift for you too. The team at Never Miss Moments are obsessed with giving you the very best customer service, and I'm stoked to be able to pass on their special 10% off discount offer on their galleries when you go to nevermissmoments.com/unbridely. So that's nevermissmoments, all one word, .com/unbridely, which, in case you don't already know, UNBRIDELY. The discount will show up in your cart automatically. And of course, I'll pop the link in the show notes for you as well. And then if you think like just your local real estate industry awards, there are pay-to-play systems in place. So many real estate industry awards like Best Realtor rankings or top agencies require participants to pay hefty nomination fees or attend, again, high-priced award events. Some awards programs also involve businesses purchasing advertising or sponsoring the event to increase their chances of winning or, at the very least, gaining exposure. And similar to the Oscars, larger agencies with more resources are often favoured because they can afford a more significant investment in their nominations, their advertising, and their general influence within the industry, which means they're more likely to win awards. It's just a couple of examples, but I really wanted to get across the point that industry awards can be shaped by behind-the-scenes influence, by financial power, by personal connections. And the wedding industry is no different. So while some wedding industry awards aim to remain transparent and fair, it's important that you, as an engaged couple, and also wedding vendors are aware that bias and pay-to-play tactics can occur and can influence the outcomes as well. And I've thought about this quite a lot in the past, especially because I am a member of ABIA and Easy Weddings. And I've thought, is it worth it? Is it worth me as a wedding vendor being a part of this? And I think the answer to that, for me anyway, has come down to where I think the value lies of that advertising. To me, it's advertising because I have to pay to be an Easy Weddings member on their directory. You know, you can go on there and you can find me and you can go, great. Similarly, to be an ABIA member, ABIA member, I have to pay a yearly fee to be on their directory, and that is how I can be eligible for awards. To me, this is advertising, and if an award comes from it, and last night I got third place as Marriage Celebrant South Australia. Fantastic. Second place, like runner-up, and first place, both members of Umbrella Suppliers Pro. So I was beyond stoked for them. And the finalists that placed like fourth and fifth and like lots of other numbers in the rankings, if you like, are my closest industry friends, the people that I would trust if I were not well and I needed someone to step in for my ceremonies. These are the people that I would call. And I guess I tell you this because the beautiful celebrant who won first place, who came like number one celebrant in South Australia for 2024. And a huge congratulations to you, Claire. I am genuinely really excited for you, and I know that you deserve the compliments, the accolades, and all the beautiful love that's coming your way after winning the award. And, you know, there you are, jetting around in JFK. But the point I want to get across is not that of sour grapes, but of what it actually means. Because the judging, the reviews that our couples put in to be able to have these rankings, if you like, they're subjective. Because, of course, the way that a couple perceives the service they receive from any wedding supplier could even be different to how their guests perceived the performance of that wedding supplier. It could be different from, you know, there is no judging panel that is coming along to every celebrant's wedding across an entire year for all the celebrants who want to be a part of these awards to have a look at how they perform, how they do things, what their level of professionalism is like, etc., all the things that you think might make a good celebrant. Because there's no way to actually do that. And also, it means nothing because the entire purpose of a wedding is for you. It's for you, dear couple. It doesn't matter if Auntie fucking Beryl thinks your celebrant is the ant's pants or whether she detests them and everything they said during your ceremony. It doesn't fucking matter. So it's entirely subjective. Claire is no better and no worse than me or any other celebrant. It doesn't show that she is the best, that every couple would get the most incredible ceremony and experience and wedding from her. What it means is that all of her couples for the last year rated her so highly that her ratings were above the runner-up and myself. And so if you think about it, her couples didn't get to judge me, for example, and my couples didn't get to judge her. There is no real way, especially in weddings, of comparing services between different vendors, like let's say all of the same category, just for argument's sake, just celebrants. There's no way to judge celebrants because the only way of value to determine, a celebrant's service level and their creativity and their professionalism and their communication and all of those things is from the couples themselves. That's why in most of the wedding awards that I've talked about, that's why reviews are used to determine the winner, in inverted commas. But it just means that the winner last night, her couples rated her service a little bit more highly than my couples rated my service, which is fine. That's great. That's awesome. As I said, completely stoked. But what I would love you to understand is that your perception of value of a vendor and how good they are and how much they're worth it and how much they can bring to your wedding day can only be determined by you with your criteria, with your requirements, whether you need them to be extroverted and wild and wacky and innovative or very sensitive, caring, patient, timely. Your requirements for a wedding vendor are uniquely your own. And let me look it up here. And just because I've won on ABIA 19 industry awards doesn't mean anything if we don't get along. If you don't like my vibe, if I'm rude to you, then you're like, nah, fuck that. So this leads me to the part where I'd love to share how I think you, dear listener, dear engaged couple, should use wedding awards in your wedding planning, how they can be useful to you, how they can be a little signpost. And number one there is to do your own research, because while awards can be helpful, they should not be the only deciding factor in you booking a particular vendor, especially over another. You'd be smart to dive deeper into what the couples say in reviews, their wording, what they focus on, their tone. You'll need to dive deeper into what couples say in reviews and testimonials, but not just the number of awards that a vendor has won. You want to look for the meaning behind what people say. You want to meet them as well, chat with them. If you can't do it in person, over the phone, on a video call, whatever it is, chat with them to make sure you connect personally, because awards don't always reflect your personal compatibility. They might be awesome. They just might not be your person, or they might not communicate in a style that you love. And just look beyond those gold stars, because while awards can be great, you need to consider the vendor's style. If they're a photographer, a videographer, their portfolio, and whether their work aligns with your vision for your wedding day. So to wrap it up, the key takeaways I think for today are that wedding industry awards can provide you with reassurance and a bit of direction, but they aren't a guarantee of quality or compatibility, more importantly, with you. You can use them as a starting point for sure, but not the final word on who you choose to book and why. So for vendors, awards, I think they're a very valuable marketing tool, but they also shouldn't be the only measure of your success. And they shouldn't be the things that are forefront in your mind as you go about your work week in, week out. I'd love you to consider both the benefits and limitations of awards when choosing vendors or participating in awards programs. And I'd love to hear your experiences too. So couples, please Let me know. Share your experiences with different wedding vendors and whether their awards influence your decisions. And wedding vendors, please comment. How have awards impacted your businesses? Have you come across any very, very dodgy practices? Would like to know about it. And you can DM me on Instagram at Unbridely. You can email me hello@unbridely.com. And I'll be back with you the same time next week. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.